And jealous?
Season 3 was a very big season for us. It's sort of the middle of the volumes, if you will. You think of these seasons as kind of long novels.
What's cool about season 3 is it began with a lot of promise for all the characters, and then we just stepped on everybody's heart and completely broke them.
I'm teaching him how to die.
Hi, Dad.
Season 3 was really important for many reasons, not the least of which was that Buffy and Angel separated into 2 different networks. And at the end of season 5 of Buffy, which preceded season 3 of Angel, Buffy died. And of course we knew we had to deal with that. And the WB was like, the less you talk about that show that's no longer on our network, the better. And we were like, we understand, these issues, but we must deal with her death. And so you begin this first episode, you find Angel is off in the hills of Sri Lanka, supposedly meditating in a monastery and supposedly trying to get over this tremendous grief he has about Buffy's passing. He's gone to a place that's full of demon monks, of course, as his luck would have it.
Easy, baby. What is it? What is it? What'd you see?
Cordelia's visions are getting more painful. There's just more sort of happening with her. And she's a constantly changing character. If you trace her back to her early days in Sunnydale on the Buffy show and you look at her today, now, towards the end of season 3, you just can't believe that's even the same person.
I'm Cordelia. I don't think. I know. Okay. Through the visions, she's been able to see the pain that exists, that people experience in this world. And it kind of ripens her a bit, brings her a little bit down, and into reality, and humbles her in the sense that life has purpose and meaning, and what is her part, and where's the meaning in her life. Buffy's dead, and I don't mean to diminish that. I miss her too.
I am okay.
Then what's the problem?
That I'm okay. That losing Buffy didn't kill me. That I could deal with it.
The heart and soul of that piece, for me, was that you think Angel feels poorly because Buffy died and he doesn't know how to deal with his grief. And in fact, he feels poorly because Buffy died, he's had tremendous grief, and he is able to go on with his life. And that's kind of a sad, hard fact. And also sort of registered the fact of the 2 shows going their own way and Angel standing on its own 2 feet.
Take a look. This is what I am. Deal with it or don't.
That Old Gang of Mine is an episode that illustrates the struggle that Gunn has been going through to choose between his gang that he sort of started fighting vampires with and his new gang that he's currently fighting vampires with. He has to make a choice about where his loyalty lies, and so he sort of learns that his gang has kind of gone off the mission, and he redefines for himself what his current mission is.
He ain't your friend. I am. And you're gonna choose that over me?
Looks like. It's about the mission, bro.
My character is a sworn vampire hunter, and that's what he lives for and will die for. And the fact that his closest ally is a vampire is so much conflict. And so it creates for sort of a dynamic relationship where they have a lot of mutual respect and trust, yet a lot of distrust.
All right, now you wanna get it in the heart, or it's no good.
Although I thought I might just shoot you in the throat instead. That was kind of just like a welcome back to the real world. Because the first time I tried to go anywhere and all of a sudden I've got monster guts all over me, and it was a nice reintroduction into Los Angeles.
If you ever withhold information or attempt to subvert me again, I will fire you.
You know that Gunn and Wesley are very close, and they've saved each other's lives many times, and they're brothers in arms. But he had become the de facto leader at the end of season 2. In this instance, it's a clinical decision of a leader that, hey, you can't jeopardize the group.
Cordelia, that beast you saw, did it have 4 or 5 claws?
5.
You're certain?
Pretty certain.
One of the things they tried to do on this season was kind of treat it like season 1, as if we kind of forget what the show is, and we need to sort of reintroduce all the elements. 2 of those big elements were Cordelia's visions and Wolfram and Hart, and we ultimately found a way to combine those 2 with Cordelia's visions manifesting physically, feeling it was from the powers that be, then ultimately revealing that it's Lila and Wolfram and Hart behind that.
Cordelia is haunted by this demon, and the demon takes the form of this acne that she gets. She gets these horrible boils that are just horribly humiliating for her. And it's a wonderful moment because you really understand the pain that comes from a woman's vanity.
Am I just a horrible person? Because I know I can be snippy sometimes.
This isn't happening because you're bad.
We try to avoid a literal hell, literal heaven, so there's a lot of different hell dimensions, and he has to go to one where there's a terrible, horrible, horrible person. You know, moral dilemma, how far would you go to save someone you care about? And we had a guy in a box of fire.
And Angel has to go into the underworld to release this guy. He knows that he's a bad guy and that he's going to bring some sort of evil to the world. But his feelings for Cordelia are so strong that he ignores this potential evil, goes down into this underworld, and he finds this floating cube of fire. And within the fire is this naked man who's kind of struggling and trying to get out. And as Angel goes down into this room, he meets the guardian demon.
Hi.
Hi. A guy who's standing watch over this fellow in the cube. And the guardian demon is just this horrible monster. He's got this sort of armor and this awful, scary face. Just the scariest guy you can imagine. Big guy, too. But he has a friendly kind of next-door neighbor quality to him. And the guy starts saying how much he likes his job. He says the commute's not bad. But they both understand that they're going to have to duke it out at some point. And eventually they get into a big fight.
I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree.
I was working on a feature over the summer and had a chance to go to Rikers Island. And I met all these, like, you know, security guards. And they were like Skip, you know, I mean, here they are working with these total badasses. And they live like, I live out on the island, you know, it's not too bad. We take the kids fishing, you know. And actually they'll fish right off Rikers Island. They'll bring the kids in and go fishing there. And I love the contrast of like these real badass guys just, you know, doing their job. And so I think that was sort of the inspiration.
I want to go home. I'm just not cut out for this.
Fred stays inside the hotel, inside her own room, basically replacing one cave with another. She identifies with Angel as her hero and is very enamored of him and has a crush on him. Enter Fred's parents, the sight of whom sends her into a complete tailspin. And so you spend a little bit of the episode trying to figure out, were they abusive? What's the cause? Why is she freaking out? And basically you come to the conclusion that she's dealing with the now and the present, and the very sight of them makes her recent past and her captivity in Pylea something very real, and that's something that she's in denial about.
I was having a hard time finding out what my place was going to be because everyone else seems to have such distinct jobs and they were all so good at theirs. So when I was just like, I don't really help at all. So then my parents came and it seemed like such a nice, safe environment to go home. And then I found out that I was really needed with everyone and that there was a place for me.
Why do you make me do this?
We didn't know what we were going to do for episode 6. We knew that we wanted it to be something scary, and for a while, David Fury was going to write that episode. And then finally I said, no, I'll do it. It'll be something scary. And so we were trying to figure out what it was going to be, and I was working it out with Jeff Bell, who wrote that Vision thing. And we knew we wanted to bring back Fireboy, the boy who's in the box in that Vision thing. And Jeff actually had some very specific ideas of what he thought that kid was.
So I thought there were two things that we could play out in terms of the story. One was Skip, and one was whoever that horrible person was. And Billy actually seemed more obvious to me, because Angel has done a horrible thing. This show always deals with there are consequences to every action. So because he did this, this is going to come back and haunt at some point down the line. And ultimately came to misogyny. You know, this is a person who could touch someone and bring out this terrible hatred.
It took our characters, especially Wesley and Gunn, to a darker side that you wouldn't expect them to go to, just because at their heart they're pretty gentle souls.
Guess what, my love? I'm not some downy-faced schoolboy. I'm a man.
Wesley had growing feelings for Fred really from the moment she arrived, and we kind of kept it bubbling under the surface and it wasn't dealt with. So that sets up a very powerful subtext for the infection that Billy spreads to the various male characters in the episode, and how each character handles it differently is very interesting. But in particular for Wesley, it has a very powerful repercussions, because despite the fact that it was a demon infection, there's still a horrendous line has been crossed, and he finds it very hard to deal with the pain that he's caused Fred.
Wes and Fred obviously have a lot of things in common. They're interested in science and books and sort of just building that all up, then have that happen, and then giving sort of through the back door Gunn and Fred an opportunity to hook up.
I guess there's only one thing left to do. Time to go visit Daddy.
At the end of Reprise, which was an episode in season 2, where Angel comes home to find Darla there, and he sort of attacks her, and they end up getting it on, which is why she ends up pregnant.
Her journey between having left in, I think, episode 16 of season 2, and now it was exactly 8.5 months, and she's carrying this baby and doesn't really know what it is and isn't really happy about it. It'll pass.
Once we said, what if she comes back pregnant, we understood so much of year 3, and actually into year 4 as well, that it would be about Darla returning, it would be about Angel's frustrated love for Cordelia, it would be about him finally having a son, and what the son means to him, and how that offers him a possibility of tomorrow, hope, a future.
She did try to kill Cordy, and she's a vampire.
Who's carrying his child? The one thing he can never have, even if he lives forever.
There was an enormity of flashbacks in the second season, and from the start of season 3, it's definitely a direct connection to his past and what he shares with Darla back in the 1700s. And there's a 7 or 8 episode arc with that, and what we find is that she's pregnant. It progresses to her having the child, and we finding out what this child's about.
This Troclon thing, the prophecies say that it will be born or it will arise.
The Middle English Eirizan and the Gothic Uresan both mean to appear, to spring up.
No vampire has ever had a child before, and technically it's impossible because the vampire is dead. So how could a vampire nourish a baby?
I see it.
My little parasite.
It's human.
Human as in humanoid?
Human as in a boy.
We find out Wolfram Hart wants the child for whatever reason, and hires a very famous demon delivery doctor. They set up a small operating room, and once they get there, they plan on taking Darla and taking the child from her.
You're not human. I just thought you might want help killing Angelus and Darla.
And is this the part of the tale where the demon offers the broken man a chance to change all that?
I'll take you to them. 2 centuries into the future.
Angel in his bad times back in the 1700s actually killed Holtz's family, killed his children, and Holtz's life's ambition has been for revenge with Angel. And not just to kill Angel, but to torture Angel and hurt Angel in the most painful way he can possibly do it.
Not only did Angel murder Holtz's family, but they turned the daughter into a vampire, and Holtz had to end up dusting his own daughter.
But when he saw Darla give birth to Angel's child, he knew that would be the way to torture Angel more than any other way, any painful torture he could come up with.
The moment you see Holtz see Angel with that baby, you realize there's going to be some kind of justice here.
Holtz is definitely looking at it as a means of either revenge or vengeance or justice to the fact that I killed his family back in the days when I was evil. And I think for him, it's kind of like getting back and having a son that he never had.
Take the baby.
You're choosing birthday gifts over my kid?
Take the baby. Take the baby. Take the baby.
Cordy.
Doyle gave her the visions in season 1, and they've been getting progressively worse with more and more pain. And I wanted to pay that off. I said, there has to be something. We got to change it. She can't, collapse into a seizure every time she has a vision. And so we talked about, maybe Cordy becomes schizophrenic, and, we had all these ideas. And finally, we realized that since we have said over and over again, only demons can harbor the visions, we needed to make her part demon. And the way we did that was a sort of It's a Wonderful Life thing, offering her the chance to have this other life that she would have had she not met Angel.
Called instinct, intuition. Deep down, we all know our purpose in this world.
Are you saying I was meant to be an actress?
She sort of dies. She has this out-of-body experience. Her body goes into a coma and she becomes standing outside her body. And this demon named Skip comes to her and he says, you cannot handle the visions.
I don't want to die. Skip comes along, gives Cordelia the choice to continue to get the visions that could kill her, or show me what my life would have been like had I not received the visions and never met Angel at all.
And she said, but I can't not have the visions. I can't not help them. Who will have them if I don't? But then she sees Angel railing against the powers that be. She sort of hears him out of context, saying that she's just a rich girl from Sunnydale and she can't handle this. And she doesn't hear the whole thing of what he's saying of how important she is. So she says, okay, give me the life.
Nev, do you ever get that nagging feeling that you're supposed to be somewhere doing something, but you can't remember what?
No, I'm highly organized. That's why you pay me pretty well. But with the holidays coming, I really...
I have to go. I'm sorry. I have to go.
They give her this other life, but she's still on mission, bringing her back to the mission. She's still on mission. She has a job to do, and she knows it. Even in an alternate universe, she knows it. And she saves a girl and meets up with Wes and Gunn in this alternate dimension, and Angel is crazy out of his mind because he's got the visions. And a lot of people were like, well, how come Angel went crazy with the visions? And I had to tell them, it's not because he had the visions, it's because he didn't have Cordelia. She's the thing that brings him closer to human.
She sort of breaks through that illusion. She says, I choose to have some demon injected in me, and I choose to stay and help Angel fight the good fight. So then she wakes up from this terrible coma, and all her friends have been worried, and she's like looking for, do I have horns or a tail? And you see her floating, and she's like, guys, what are you looking at? First of all, the visions no longer hurt now that she has this demon thing in her. And secondly, she's waiting for the other, steel-toed boot to drop. What's going to happen to her? And towards the end of the season, she starts glowing white. She finds that she has this incredible power. And at the same time, we're playing how she and Angel are just going to be so irresistibly drawn to one another.
You've become a truly extraordinary woman.
Gru?
I think that...
Gru! Princess! Oh, my God, I can't believe it!
I feared you'd forget who I was.
Remind me.
The Gruselug, who is a prince from another dimension from the end of year 2 who's in love with Cordy, has come back.
He's in LA for the first time, so it's very much a fish out of water story. And he gets done up exactly like David, so it's a couplet thing going on there as well. Looks exactly like him and dresses like him kind of thing, and they get to go on, an adventure through LA. All kinds of wackiness ensues.
Angel, I need your help. What she's concerned about is, of course, seeing Gru, who she loved and cared for deeply, but knew that there would be a possibility that if she did have sex or Kamshak with the Gruselug in this dimension, that I'll still lose my visions, which is my purpose and meaning and identity. And then she sends Angel and Gruselug to some, ranch to find this potion that I can drink and not have to sacrifice those things. And it works great, but then Angel's like, I don't want to see this, I don't want this around me, this is too hurtful. What's this?
Don't come in tomorrow. In fact, don't come in for a couple weeks. Take Gru someplace nice, someplace where there's sun. The characters were kind of heading into acknowledging their feelings for one another, and how that would happen with Angel, and what he could deal and how he could deal with that would be pretty, destructive to his course of living, since the fact that he would probably turn evil and rip everybody's heads off.
But eventually the Gruselug realizes, just the way he sees these two together, he realizes that she doesn't love him and he's not the one for her, and he packs up his bags and leaves.
Well, he's slowly seeing that Cordy has feelings for Angel, and that slowly comes out, and he's, he doesn't want to believe it at first, I don't think, and he sees more and more signs of it, and then, being the noble guy that he is, sort of steps back and says, go do your thing and, do the right thing, I suppose.
Is it true? Will Angel really kill his son, as it says in the prophecies?
That the vampire will devour his child is certain. The dark question you harbor is only when.
No.
I hope that by the time it came to him taking the child, that you can intellectually understand why he made that decision. That he isn't simply saying, okay, screw Angel and screw the office, I'm going to betray you guys. There are weeks and weeks of pressure building up about these prophecies, which he has investigated as fully as he knows how. And Cordelia isn't around, and he's that's maybe the one person he would discuss it with. He is alienated at this point from Gunn and Fred because of the emotional issues that have been going on, and so it makes it difficult for him to even be in the same room with them. And he's a man, he's a person, so he doesn't rise above that and talk about all of his concerns with them. He's trapped by it. I mean, at this point, he doesn't know if at any second Angel isn't going to grow a pair of fangs and start dining on his son.
Wesley discovered these prophecies that said the father will kill the son, and he was terrified that Angel would kill his own son. And Wolfram and Hart were spiking Angel's blood with a little bit of his own son's blood, and Angel was behaving really crazy. So Wesley kidnapped the son.
With the information he has, he makes the decision that he thinks is right, which is, well, I'll sacrifice myself and the child from the agency and take the baby Connor off to who knows where and make him safe from Angel and make Angel safe from himself.
Justine?
Is everything you said is true?
He's been looking into Holtz and Justine and the whole army that are being raised over there and investigating them a little, because clearly they're making inroads into Angel, and he thinks, well, this is crazy to just sit here and have these people constantly probing our outfits. So he becomes proactive and goes out and confronts them and, you know, finds out what they're really up to. So in that sense, he plays a vital role in the baby being lost to another dimension. And that's where, to all intents and purposes, to everyone else, it looks like a betrayal. Whereas in fact, he's had his throat slit and he's bleeding to death in the park. And really, he spends the rest of the season isolated from the gang, a gang that he's been an integral part of and was the leader of and helped to build. So we kind of see the season out, as far as Wesley is concerned, as an isolated, disenchanted, angry, dark character who is being probed now by Wolfram and Hart. So Lila appears to try and seduce him despite himself, and really because of the dark bitterness, they have this exorcism on each other of their past.
And Wesley goes from innocent, sweet, wonderful guy who had a pure love to Fred to, I will sleep with someone I don't even trust. He's completely gone into a very dark, lonely place.
I'm going to leave now, right? With me, he gets to live. Take him.
Whoa, no! What is wrong with you people?
I will take good care of him, as though he were my own son.
Leko Najin Fortadio. What you're looking into is the Kortov, darkest of the dark worlds.
Holtz faces off with Angel and Wolfram and Hart and Sajan, and eventually Sajan opens a portal to the Kortoth, which is the darkest of the dark worlds, and Holtz takes the baby and jumps through it so that Angel will not have his son.
Holtz's character has just developed this season remarkably, and Keith Sarabaka, who plays Holtz, has done a marvelous job, and he's been a great nemesis.
Can I help you? What was that?
Angel is ready to put the past behind him, and he just wants a case. He just wants to get back to work. Then a guy comes in, and he is potentially a client, and he gets taken over by a creature that we call a slug, which is kind of a cool deep-sea creature that has a very undulating movement to it. It has tentacles, and it almost looks like a squid, but it moves very fast, and it invades the body and dehydrates you.
You want to just put down the supersize, or... I know you.
You do?
This is the guy that came to the office this morning.
We're thirsty.
We tried to create a very spooky feel, and we shot for 3 days in the Ambassador Hotel, downtown Los Angeles, and we had the distinction of being the last crew to film inside.
Where are we? South Wing. Haven't found a use for it yet, so we just keep it closed up.
They're about ready to demolish it, but that's the hotel where Robert Kennedy was assassinated. So when we were shooting up in the kitchen there, we were literally a few feet away from where this moment in history occurred. And the creatures are all CGI.
These slugs, these little horrible things, end up getting into Fred and nearly killing her. And we believe it's because Angel did horrible black magic and was sort of reckless and careless in his pursuit of getting his son.
You! This is all happening because of you! This is all your fault!
And then we ultimately learned that no, it's in fact Connor trying to get back to this world.
They're convinced that evil things are coming out of this dimension to get them. What's really the case is something is scaring all these creatures out of this dimension, and that turns out to be Angel's son Connor, who's lived there with Holtz and has become quite the hunter, quite the killer. And he's scaring all these creatures right out of the dimension, and he in turn follows them out.
Hi, Dad.
He finds his way back from this other dimension, Kortoth, a place where Holtz could never figure out how to get back, but Connor figures it out.
Time moves differently in Kortoth, and Connor grows up in the span of like 3 weeks on Earth.
We kind of set it up on Buffy season 3. When you go to a hill dimension, time passes in a different way than it does here on Earth. So basically, when Connor and Holtz jump into this dimension, they're actually really only gone 3 weeks of Earth years, but they've really lived 16 years in this hell dimension.
Holtz has brought up Connor basically to hate his father. His father is the devil, as far as Holtz is concerned, and he tells Connor that. And Connor punches a hole back through Kortoth to Earth and tries to kill Angel.
He comes back with the sole directive of murdering Angel, and then I'd say that he probably is just going to go right back into the dimensional crack and right back to his father, right back to his hell dimension, because that's all he knows. So he drops in actually chasing another beast and murders this beast, and is then kind of defeated by Angel when Angel spares his life. And he runs off into the LA Day, actually, because Angel can't follow him. All the worst parts of our world kind of attack him all at once and kind of give him this idea that this is a hell dimension too. He meets a young lady who's being kind of mugged and raped by like these hoodlums, and he discards them, and then she dies later of a heroin overdose. So all of this together kind of gives Connor a really bitter taste as to what this dimension, this world is all about. And he says there's a lot more humans, but they all tend to be bad or evil. Hello, son. Hi, Dad.
Holtz very soon follows by coming through the hole that Connor went through and explains to Connor that, I understand that you think you want to kill him, but that's not why you came back here. You had a need to see him. And Connor protests this and sort of fights against this idea. And very quickly, Holtz realizes that this kid is destined to be with Angel. There's nothing he can do to stop this kid from ending up with Angel. And that if he tries to get in the way of that the boy will end up hating Holtz. And Holtz decides that the most important thing to him is that that boy loves him forever.
Holtz realizes that because of Angel's goodness and because of Angel's work for the powers that be, basically because he has a soul now, he's sort of disabusing Connor of the notion that Angelus is evil. Angel is sort of converting the kid. See, I'm not a bad guy. Basically, without coming right out and saying it, Holtz was lying to you. I'm not the evil thing that he told you I was. And Connor is sort of being won over to that perspective. So Holtz takes his final revenge, and he has Justine kill him.
I'm not asking you to follow me into hell. Just help send me there.
All through episode 21, Holtz is saying to everyone around him, Justine, Angel, Connor, that Connor belongs with Angel. There's nothing Holtz can do to stop it. Holtz realized that all his life he was searching for vengeance, and he lived off his hate. And in this other dimension, raising this kid, he realized the one thing that was stronger than hate was love. And that now he can be finished with vengeance. What we think he means is, I've learned a valuable lesson and now I can move on. What we discover he means is, now I can really have vengeance because instead of using hate against this guy, I'll use love. This boy loves me. And that's going to be much more powerful than getting him to hate this other guy.
Okay.
I'll help you kill him.
Connor says to Angel, I've decided I want to be your son. Teach me everything you know. Teach me how to fight. Thereby learning all of Angel's tricks.
Is this kid a chip off the old block or what, huh?
In the meantime, Cordelia has a vision. Everyone's telling Cordelia, you're in love with Angel. This is what everything's been moving toward. Everybody's telling Angel, you're in love with Cordelia. It's time for you to admit this. There's a reckoning that is built in. And the only way for us to make that reckoning work narratively is to make sure that Angel thinks everything's okay with Connor.
Connor's going to take his father's legacy, his father meaning Holtz, and he doesn't want to kill Angel, but he wants him to suffer forever. So knowing that a vampire can only be killed by going out into the daylight, fire, decapitation, or a stake in the heart, his plan is to lock Angel in a steel box and drop him to the bottom of the ocean where he'll live forever locked in a steel box. Charisma is being called by the powers that be because she's developed so much power and she's learned so much She's going to be called up.
The demon Skip appears and freezes time and says, "It is time for you to ascend. You no longer belong on this planet. It is time for you to go to another place. It is time to leave this life behind." And she says, "Of course, everything's been moving toward this, but I was afraid." And she realizes the conversation she thought she was having with Angel in her vision is really this conversation she's now having with Skip. So she's going to miss her date with Angel because she is going to ascend.
In the meantime, the Gruselug is going to go out to travel the country and find out what this universe is all about. And the host is thrown in the towel and he's headed for Vegas to go open up a club. So that leaves just Gunn and Fred alone in the hotel and all our other characters scattered to the wind.
Wesley is completely cut off from the group and possibly, in league now with Wolfram and Hart. Although he's not specifically working for them by the end of season 3, he's certainly sleeping with one of the lawyers.
Well, he thinks he gets his ultimate revenge. He's got to be pretty alone too, Connor, after he does that, because not only does he now not have family, he's kind of left completely alone in a dimension he doesn't understand. I guess he has Justine, but, I don't know how close that relationship will become. So he's now all alone in this dimension.
The cool thing about Connor as a teen is it takes the story into places we haven't been able to go. He's going to go to areas of Los Angeles. He's going to run into people that our characters wouldn't necessarily meet.
He locks me in a box and he throws me over the ocean, so I go down to the depths of the Pacific, I guess. Cordelia ends up going up to the powers that be because of her powers and her calling, so where one ascends, one descends, and there's that whole Shakespearean love lost kind of a thing happening, I guess.
So our last frame of episode 22 will be Angel submerging the bottom of the ocean while Cordelia rises to the powers that be.
It's closed.